Alrighty, welcome to the first episode of SaltyBites. This is a little something to tide you all over while I'm working on larger projects or I'm running into more trouble than usual playing a game. Usually hitting a brick wall because of a sudden difficulty spike or whatever. And for our first episode, we are going to be covering the AliensRL. This was created by Colonel Xenomorph, I think is how you pronounce that, of Jupiter Hell fame for a 7-day roguelike contest back in 2007, and the last update, 0.8.2, was in 2012, and not having played it in so long, I went and snagged me a copy. So, long story short, the premise, slight spoilers ahead, is typical alien stuff. Colony's gone dark, you get sent out with another Marine to investigate, only you get shot down by the automated defense systems, and you're the only one that makes it. So now, you have no choice but to brave what's ahead. So, one of the first things after you make your character, and there's 5 classes total, Marine, Heavy Weapons, Scout, Tech, and Medic, each providing their own specializations, is, aside from the synthesized voice letting you know that you're on your own, is the ambience, despite or perhaps enhanced by those crispy ASC2 graphics. First things first, you can't see very far, even in areas with good lighting. And that kind of works into the game, because you can't quite make out just what's on the periphery of your vision. The music further enhances this. Reminds me of something out of Silent Hill. And then you start to hear them. The aliens. They're all around you. Sometimes they might be close, sometimes they might be far away. And you don't know where they're going to strike. And then you see your first Xenomorph and let loose with your weapon. And this really does serve to really give a tense experience. Now, despite what you may think, this is not the typical, Aliens Fireteam Elite or whatever. This is a roguelike that very much leans into a survival horror aspect. Your starting supplies are far from ample, and they will not last in the face of the Xenomorph menace, so you have to scrounge for what you can throughout the 6 towers. The civilian tower, which you start in, storage, main, engineering, security, military, and medical, with each one representing its own unique dangers. For example, the civilian tower is relatively safe, but doesn't have much in the way of, good quality supplies. While the storage tower, with its low light environment, often makes for tense encounters. I cannot recall how many times I've run headlong into a drone because I couldn't see the damn thing. And here's the thing, while you're scrounging for supplies, you have to gauge the risk, because there are times you will either break even or come off worse for wear. I cannot recall how many times during a playthrough that I entered a room only to wind up using more ammo than I gained because I didn't read it right, or I didn't back down. Or sometimes I just didn't have the chance to back down because there was an alien right in front of it. And even if you do manage to gather up a decent amount of ammo and supplies, they are, despite seeming ample, they are very, very limited. Eventually, you will run out of ammo, and your enemies are legion. Time ain't in your favor. The Xenomorphs themselves come in a wide variety of acid-filled flavors. Anyways, the Xenomorphs are represented by an A symbol. So you have your 3 basic types with a couple of exceptions. You have the Hunters, which are teal, and they tend to hunt. They almost always seem to know where the player is, so be on your guard. Then you have the Warriors, which form the bulk of the Xenomorph hordes. These are the guys you've got to watch out for because, while yes, they may not track you as much as, say, the Hunters, they are still more than capable of chewing you up, especially when encountering large groups. In fact, if possible, try to avoid packs of these, if possible. And then you have the Workers. These are dark gray in color. They seem to serve as more of a roadblock and supply sink, forcing you to think around them, as they won't immediately attack unless you get too close, but they do move around a lot. And I cannot recall how many times that I've gone through an area only to have the damned worker move and then being forced to confront them because I got too close. And they really are bullet sponges. The Praetorian, which is one of the exceptions, which I've only encountered a couple of times, is a case of pray you have nades and a heavy weapon, because you will die if they get too close. And the Queen, well, she's a piece of work, and we'll leave it at that. In terms of mechanics, AliensRL is one of those simple but seemingly incredibly nuanced games to be interesting. You get access to multi-tools, which depending on your technical skill can be used to hack consoles, power down auto doors, and probably numerous other things I'm not aware of. Fitness influences how much pain you can take and how fast you can run. Medical is pretty straightforward too, influences your metapack's effectiveness, and perception increases sight and decreases low light penalties. Combat's pretty much standard shoot it until it dies, with a wonderful variety of weapons. From 9mm pistols and subguns that are good for small fry, to the awesome smart gun, though your skill with weapons will determine how accurate they are. And it's got hand grenades. Don't underestimate these, because I cannot recall how many times incendiary grenades have saved me during an encounter. You'll need to keep an eye on your health and armor, as health obviously, hit the metapack, patch up, but the armor, keep it patched, because it can and will save your life. And mind the acid spray from the enemies. Get hit by an enemy and you suffer a pain penalty, which decreases vision, and I believe it messes with your accuracy, but I'm not sure. In addition, get access to things like sentry guns, which are self-explanatory, painkillers, another self-explanatory, and stim packs that increase movement, give you a nasty hangover afterwards, and armor shards to repair whatever you're wearing. All in all, between the combat mechanics, the enemies, and the environment, it makes for a tense, atmospheric experience that will really raise the hairs on your neck as you adventure through the overrun colony to get to the Queen. Scrounging for supplies all the way and hoping that you have enough ammo to accomplish your objective after you inevitably run into trouble. AliensRL is one of those little gems from the late 2000s that really does deserve some attention. If you like a challenging race against the time roguelike, then I highly recommend it. I've been your host, Farzy, and this has been SaltyBites.